All right, we're gonna do a little chain sharpening on both the 500 and the 880 because I'm gonna need both of these today. 880's chain's okay, it's just not cutting as fast as it was. Some of the teeth have just a little bit of damage. So I always only use these OEM ones from Still. These wrenches, or you know, I guess you can get away with a high quality aftermarket one, but these are the easiest ones for me to get, and I think they're like $5 at the Still store, but they're on back order. Last time I was there and picked up a couple, you seem to always lose them, or misplace them, because I've got one in the wood hauling truck, a couple in each four wheeler, a couple on my bench, and one kind of stays out here. Come on, there's the bar. I'm trying to set that. These bars do rust. It's one thing you kind of have to take account for. So since I'm doing 2 chains, I'm just going to soak them in a little bit of gas. Also got that chain there, that 24-inch. So every time that I do sharpen chains, I always do at least 2 saws at a time. Because, you know, to get my chain grinder out here and all set up and have everything ready to go, yeah. The main reason that I'm just soaking it in a little bit of gas is to get the grease off, or I mean, to get the oil off, so that it doesn't load up your wheel as quickly. That's kind of why I'm doing that. Let me move this coffee. 880. I'm gonna go back to an 8 tooth. I tried a 7 tooth just to try it. But personally, I think I like the 8 tooth better, with a little bit less aggressive rakers. I think, I don't know, that just feels better. So I'll probably switch that back over. Here's that 500i, cheap eBay dogs on it. Yeah, one of those ratcheting scrunches, I guess, would be nice to have, but with these non-capture bar nuts, they screw on and off pretty easy, as long as you keep them clean. Like, one thing I usually do is I just kind of spray the threads off with the air. These ones need to be sprayed because it's a little bit difficult to turn them off. But it seems that those captured nuts they're just more resistance in them. A little bit harder to spin off by hand, I guess. But the positive of that is you'll never lose one. I've never lost one out in the woods. But 7 tooth on the 500. Reason that I'm running a 7 is the chain holds up better for longer. Yeah, something got this one side of this chain, a couple teeth. Unfortunately, I mainly run Still chains. I don't usually I'm gonna pull that 880 chain out now. That's probably had enough time. But I run Still chain because the Still chain is the hardest. If I'm gonna cut dirty stuff, then I'll run a cheaper chain. Organ is softer, it sharpens easier. So if you're cutting dirty wood, it makes more sense to run a softer chain. This just makes it just a little bit easier to sharpen your chain. It's kind of I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I'm a little bit lazy and don't do it. So I always, when I'm running this chain grinder, I always start on the side here. Flip her over to 063. I got this one all the way forward. 404 chain, you got to be a little careful on this jig because there's not a lot of space here in the front if you're running the way that I'm running it. Pretty close. So we'll get the table cleared off with the saws. That's the only thing I really am concerned about. So the other thing you also always need to have for doing your chains is a marker to start your, to make sure you get a full pass so you're not guessing. I like these coffees, no sugar, a little bit of carbohydrates in them, but it's just straight black coffee in a can. Pretty potent for a little 8-ounce can. It's got 180 milligrams of caffeine in it. Got those at Ollie's, little discount store. All right. I run this chain grinder outside because it really creates a lot of dust, and my workbench was just getting out of control. Looks good. Both these stones now have a multi-point dresser. And then I learned this from another YouTuber. You just touch your finger on that edge very lightly because it can burn you. But that gives you that line so that you can line up your chain. That was a good little tip. Get your light in here so you can see. I'm also doing them outside. I'm doing them outside so I can see better. I pretty much always leave this alone, and I always have this all the way forward on all my chains. I always make at least a minimum of 2 passes on each side of the chain. I like 404 chain. Just the unfortunate part about 404 chain is it takes a lot of power to pull, but the durability of it's just great. My opinion on it is you need at least like 90 cc's to pull it comfortably. I'm actually using 120. So starting with a good clean chain, you can take more material because you can see this wheel is not loading up. Since I took the time to degrease the chain, the cheapest stuff I found for using or to degrease them is just a little bit of gas. Maybe that's not best thing to use, but I think it's the lowest price per gallon and it works. So it might leave some type of little bit of residue. Don't really know. But that's what I've always used. This is a 46 RS chain. We will need to do a raker adjustment. So for splitting the logs, I have those West Coast dogs on it. They actually are very helpful for cutting them in half. I'm not a big spikes person, but they are helpful in certain situations. Alright, we're back to the beginning. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust it down just a teeny bit. So that corner is pretty much perfect. And we'll do a little inspection. It's looking good to me. Let's do another tooth and then just inspect.